gender equality, I don't like that phrase. Let's speak of equality of opportunities, not equality of outcome. Then we're speaking.
Okay.
Because when someone says gender equality, so you're practically saying if there are 5 males, there should be 5 females, irrespective of who qualifies. Then I do not agree with that. I am saying, let us have equality. Let us give people equal opportunities and see how much they go.
A very good day, Swazis. My name is Tembinkosi Moisan. Today, I was supposed to have Honorable Chi, but unfortunately, he's quite a busy person. He's engaged. And also, we're trying to get hold of SNA's president, unfortunately. We are still on the talks. Probably on our next episode, we are going to feature them. Our deepest apologies on that. Now we are going to give you episode 2 of what we began last week, where we were talking about the political landscape in Eswatini. Today we will be talking about gender equality. We'll be talking about the justice system in the country, culture versus human rights, and I still have Mr. Shongwe, Sandile Shongwe. A very good day, Sandile.
A very good day. How are you, sir?
I'm very much good. In the country, Swaziland, the past few, I think it was 2019, we experienced something very tragic in the country at the University of Eswatini. A prince raped the students. I remember Amnesty International was there calling for justice for that student. It never happened. And so many rape cases that we had, including the king himself. We had that these wives used to take them by force and do everything to them. That is not good. My question to you, probably the first question that I'm going to ask is there gender equality in Eswatini, and what is gender equality?
Okay, in the context of our country, the word gender equality, it does not exist. Okay, maybe let's take it a few steps back. What is gender equality? I'll only derive something that I hold as my definition based on context and the content of the matter. If we speak of gender equality, we are not trying to configure the scale that it favors some people and not others. We are saying you have equal opportunities to anything.
Okay.
That means if we want 10 people,
okay,
it does not matter either 5 are male or 5 are female. What matters is who qualifies. But then here where the key thing is, we are saying of those competing, it does not matter either you're male or female.
Okay.
Everyone must compete for the 10 positions.
Okay.
We cannot control the quality of outcome.
Okay.
But later we can control who actually competes. So that's gender equality.
Okay. Oh, very, very interesting definition. Let's start before we get to our leaders. Let's start at home. From husband and wife. Some still believe actually, black men, Africans, emadoda as Africa, I believe ukuthi a man should be taken as a man and should be respected. Even the Bible favors them, the Christian Bible. From a family perspective, Bafo, how can gender equality be exercised? I don't know if it makes sense.
Okay. If I can just repeat your question just to make sure that I do understand. You're saying, how can we exercise gender equality in the family platform. Okay, there are a lot of factors that come into play. This culture, this religion, and culture has its own modus operandi, so does religion. Then here's the thing. You see, gender equality is a concept that is imposed on people. It's imposed by the Western organizations on the people. And here's the thing. People have different cultures and belief systems. It is only when, as an African or as an Asian, I partake in Western organizations. For example, I'm employed in a Western organization, then that I'm forced to practice these gender equality campaign. You speak of that from a home perspective, like I had alluded. There are different cultures and belief systems, such that the issue of gender equality is not an issue at all.
Okay.
So my whole point is that that's not even a concept to dwell on from a family perspective.
Okay.
Because some cultures just say that the woman must cook.
All right. Okay. How do we then synchronize? How do we synchronize religion and culture? Do you understand? Because religion will tell you something else. Culture will tell you something else. In Eswatini, sithembu zivumelekile. Religion sithemba sikavumeleki. And indoda yeswati tawufuna bafata abaningi, right? Yes. How do you synchronize? How do you bring together those two things, culture, religion?
I think in the conversation that we're going to have about gender equality, I'm just going to highlight this.
Okay.
I am not one person that's neutral on this matter. So what I'm putting is my thoughts into this.
Okay.
You see, culture has its own mandate and religion has its own mandate. However, these people practiced their religions in accordance to what their culture is. I will pick for an example is our Eswatini.
Okay.
Our religion and our culture does not have any friction.
Oh, okay. Okay, now it makes sense. Our religion
And our culture does not have any friction.
Okay.
But now if you impose Christianity into our religion, into our culture, if you impose Christianity, because it's one of those religions, then it is going to have friction with our culture.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So that is what is happening. And so now Christianity comes and says, but then even to that point, I must point out this. The Bible alludes to that. God intended one man for one woman. Intended.
Okay. Oh, intended. It was in his intentions.
That is what he wanted.
Okay.
But however, because of people being rebellious, he then allowed it. He did not create it. He tolerated it.
Ew. Okay.
You will see that on the latter part of the Bible. We're not here to speak about the Bible. So, but in the latter part of the Bible, where now the Apostle Paul starts to speak of qualities of church leaders, he says they must not take anything that gets you drunk. He says they must have one wife. So what's the whole point here? This guy is saying some people have more than one wife.
Okay.
They have more than one wife.
And he's
So he's saying if you're going to be a leader of any church, you must have one wife.
Oh, okay.
So what is happening is there is a religion that's imposed into our culture, like so many other cultures. And hence that kind of friction. And then it gets us all confused.
Oh.
So to answer your question, I am saying religion, any culture goes with its religion alongside it.
Oh.
And these two have no friction. It's only when you have a religion that's imposed on them, then that's going to have friction. However, I will quote that Jesus speaks about that he has not come here to rebuke any culture. He has only come here to emphasize it. So, in my humble opinion, I would say he was saying that try, with the help of the Holy Spirit, to see how can your culture move about
Okay.
using the book, the Bible.
All right.
How can your culture move about? What can it discard? What can it add? What can it unlearn and learn?
Oh, okay.
What can it keep? So now you have people imposing their religion on you.
Which goes along with their culture.
Exactly.
Yo. Oh, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Before we get on the justice system in the country, what could be your comment on politics and religion? Should Christians be involved in politics? Should church leaders be involved in politics?
Definitely.
Okay.
Okay. Church leaders must be involved in politics. I mean, it's not. It's not rebuked for them to do that. I mean, study the scriptures. You will understand that the justice system was led by Christians initially.
No, on that note, I also realized that even presidents, like the United States president, when he gets to that, actually the constitutions all over the world are made through using the principles of the Bible. Okay, you can proceed.
So now what is happening is, because you see, the Bible is a very controversial book. If you look at it from a man's eyes, that is our eyes, the conclusion is it's controversial and it's contradictory. But here's this thing. How is it that one book is understood by many different people differently? And we can relate to these things, and some of them we contradict. So what I'm saying is, people are using scriptures for politics.
Okay. Was Jesus a politician, according to your understanding? Was he a politician?
To a certain extent, yes, he was. And a very good one.
How so? How so on your understanding? How so on your understanding?
Look, Jesus was able to manipulate the brain and the heart. I think the basis of politics is just being able to manipulate people to believe in a mandate that you want to
You want them to believe.
exactly. So I would say anyone that is able to hold masses and say, this is the direction that we're taking, that's a very good politician. It's only that they don't practice politics. You understand?
Okay.
Because you speak of what politicians do, that is what they do.
Okay.
So I would say with some people who practice politics, we have a group of people who are practicing politics but are not very good politicians.
Okay.
In actual fact, I would say you do understand that God never designed a teacher. He never designed a doctor. God gave you a gift of being a teacher. God gave you a gift of caring.
It's how to use it.
Exactly.
Use it yourself.
How to use what you've been given. Okay. Not to come to nowadays that we do things because we need the money to live. But you find people who are engineers, yet those people are very. You get a mass of people. You get a mass of people, and you let them address those people. They will listen attentively, and they will fall for whatever ideology that people has put, that guy has put, or that lady. So I come to the point that Jesus was a politician because he had masses following him. And if he practiced politics and decided to run for, I don't know what office was there, he would have been elected.
Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Because you're not on religion today, what do you think about the justice system in the country?
Bias. It's very biased. I'll just give you one highlight that just makes this. We did have Advocate Barry Rue coming into the country. He is well known for the Oscar Pistorius saga and Revo Stenkamp. He's one of the world's iconic lawyers. He came into Swaziland to stand for SIPO.
Okay.
He stayed here 3 days and off he was gone.
Oh, wow.
He could not work here. Those were his words. There's just no ground to play. The ground is leveled. So if a person of that stature says that, then you just have to understand that. Nah, come on.
Yo, Shongwe. Hey. So having this kind of justice system, what do you think will happen in the country 2 years, 3 years, 5 years to come, 10 years to come? Do you think the uprising that happened in 2021 is still going to happen again?
You may never know, because you see how things have turned out in this country. This country is completely changed. By the country, I mean the people have completely changed.
Okay.
You may never know, because really, you don't know what these people, these leaders are cooking behind the pots. I'll make an example. Honorable Duduzis Melani. He's quiet, like he doesn't exist. And others, several others, are quiet, like nothing's ever happened. Don't be deceived.
Yeah, telling yourself that everything is normal. Yeah, peaceful country.
It's not normal. I mean, I'm just a layman on the ground that doesn't know the intensities and the technicalities that are happening here and there, but I am positive. This has not. It's not over. The people are angry, very angry, and there has been international communities that have been involved, and it's not something that's like been forgotten. I mean, for example, you'd have arrested Mandela for 27 years, and after 3 years, after 7 years of him in jail. 7 years in jail, it's over. 10 years in jail. Who would think there'd be any uprising after 10 years?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Who would think there'd be any uprising after 10 years? 10 years, the guy's inside there, for example.
19 years.
19 years, the struggle is moving down. It's declining. The uprising is declining. And then, probably on the 20th year, A huge uprising starts and it falls down back. 2 years later, nothing's going to happen. Don't you... what does your brain say?
As a leader. As a leader, yeah. As a leader, what does your brain tell you when all these historical events, that you can just reference on, what does it tell you about yourself? Okay,
there is something going on. You speak of the uprising, especially with the South African apartheid system. It had been spreading all over the world community, and people started speaking about it overseas. If you look into those documentaries, started looking into it overseas, and then there was a formation of teams, organizations that were countering
the apartheid government.
The apartheid government. And eventually things were forced and their hands were tied. So my whole point is either it's 2 years quiet, 3 years quiet, maybe 10 or more, but It's not over.
It's not over.
The people are really angry.
Yeah, Maswati, we are still talking about the justice system in the country, including gender equality and etc. What about, let's talk about I've read on the newspapers, females are stripped of their lands. They go to the king, and according to the Swazi custom, a female is not supposed to kukonda, which is the buying of the land in the Swazi national land. That's an issue that has been going on for some time in the country. What can you say about that? Is wealth supposed to be built by men only? And now in the world of money, everything is measured in terms of monetary terms. Do you think men should be given the advantage, or rather the privilege, to create more wealth and suppressing the other gender behind? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Okay, again, let's go back to the issue of culture and imposed concepts. With the Swazi culture, there's nothing wrong with that, because you have to, the way that we look at it is from the perspective that a woman is not allowed to have wealth.
Okay.
That is how we look at it.
Okay.
A woman is not allowed to have wealth. A woman must be dependent on the man. I mean, that is where we stand, and that is what we look at. But there's another side, there's a flip coin. Because you know what? From every story that you hear from someone, I think the wisest thing to do is, after you have heard that story,
Side of the story.
after they've shed their tears about how they've been abused and whatnot, just flip the coin. Hear the other person's story, and then you'll have a sound judgment.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, we're looking at it from that perspective, and that's the only perspective we're looking at it from. I do not know what's the other side of how Swazis saw it. But that would take us long, with my young, or maybe shallow opinion, how they looked at it. However, bringing it nowadays, what I would say is, Swazis still keep their customs, cultures, and beliefs, especially in the rural areas. You've got your chiefdoms. So, I think if as a woman you'd like to build wealth, then stay away from Swazi Nation land. You've got your what do you call these?
The Maduro
Yeah, you've got those, and true as it may, it is expensive.
But that's
I think that's the only that's the only solution, because you're not going to win against this. It's the same thing in Zululand.
But
You're not.
okay. Men should take Konda and have umhlaba in the Swazi Nation land. That's what you're saying. And women, if they want umhlaba, they should buy private properties.
Yeah. To best run away from
Isn't that gender inequality?
I was saying, look, this is the Swazi custom, laws, and culture, and on Swazi Nation land. And gender equality is a concept that's imposed on this culture, custom, laws, and beliefs. And therefore, because it is a different thing, it has friction, because give me those women. I mean, these elderly women, 70 plus, they will not tell you they were abused.
Okay.
They will not tell you that. They will not tell you that men are trash. And this whole concept of gender equality, they don't understand it. So now you have two things running concurrently. You have this culture, customs, laws, and beliefs, and then you have this Western concept. And now it's imposing itself on the Swazi customs, laws, culture, belief. And definitely there's bound to be friction. So what I'm saying is, harsh as it may, but the reality of the matter is this: to best run away from these things, because you will not call UN and whatever organizations from the West to come and say, hey, I'm on Swazi Nation land and they're stripping me off my land. They cannot interfere with Swazi custom, laws, and beliefs.
Yeah, this is tough.
Because look. They can interfere with people fighting for tax reduction, salary increment, hence striking, looting, and then people shooting at them and killing them. That has nothing to do with the Swazi custom, laws, and beliefs.
What do you think about the organizations we have in the country? We have Swaziland, it's Swaga, if I'm not mistaken. We have Women Assembly. What do you think about all those organizations? Are they making any impact in the country?
Definitely, they're making a huge impact. Huge impact. If you look at the numbers.
Okay, sorry. If you're saying they're making a huge impact, so they're taking the same people. Like the Prince, I heard there was a protest at headquarters asking the commissioner to arrest the Prince who raped the students at the university. How does it help? What's the impact specifically in the country if the same organization are relying on the same courts and the same justice system that we complained about at the beginning of the conversation, that this justice system is just flawed? So I'm asking from that perspective, with that context in mind.
They are hurt when it comes to certain people. I mean, you cannot arrest the person that holds the law. I mean, they too can only run as far as, if I could rape someone, then I will be taken into the hands of the law, because we spoke about a flawed justice system. But then if it's someone else that knows someone or that is someone, because we have a flawed justice system, okay, it will just slip under the carpet and stay there. So what I'm saying is, these guys do have impact. And as far as whom is the person being taken into account, it goes as far as that. Who is being taken into account for this? If it's a person that is from family X, or that knows person X, then But I don't think that's the case in Swaziland alone.
Okay.
It's the case everywhere. It depends on whom you are.
Shows that in Swaziland it is extreme. I can tell it is extreme.
It's a very extreme case in our country.
Okay. For those people, before we conclude the conversation, for those people who have been marginalized in the country, those, could it be male, could it be female, those who have experienced extreme gender inequalities in the country, just last words to them and we close off.
Okay. I think because each time that we are abused of something, we then tend to, I'd say, not think straight. I think if any one of those people are in the campaigns of gender equality, let's speak of equality of opportunities. Because equality of outcome is, you cannot scale that will be. Let's speak of, I support this gender equality. However, I don't like the phrase gender equality. Let's speak of equal opportunities
Given to both sexes.
Respective of what field is it, respective of what job is it, respective of anything. Let us give equality in terms of opportunities. Let everyone have the same opportunities. And then you speak of home-based. So that's something we I think that's out of scope.
Okay.
But you come to gender equality. I don't like that phrase. Let's speak of equality of opportunities, not equality of outcome. Then we're speaking.
Okay.
Because when someone says gender equality, so you're practically saying if there are 5 males, there should be 5 females, irrespective of who qualifies. Then I do not agree with that. I am saying, let us have equality. Let us give people equal opportunities and see how much they go. And if these people, if okay, let me just digress a bit. Just give me 2 minutes. Scandinavia are the only countries that have went far ahead of gender equality in terms of the whole exercise, that campaign. And in the end, what they predicted was against what? What was, because they discovered that women are flowing more into nurturing and caring careers, like your nursing, psychologist, doctor, teacher, those kind of things, social worker. And the males were more into the robust kind of careers, your engineers, your aircraft engineer, your software engineer. That is not something that was predicted. But in the end, that is where most women fled into. And that is what more males went into. Take the case of the University of Swaziland. I don't know what the stats are, but I am quite positive. If you could give me the stats of people that have graduated from BSc and engineering, the more males than there are females.
Okay.
And mind you, these people had equal opportunities to get there.
Okay.
No one restricted anything. But you know what the whole campaign is now? The whole campaign is this. The whole campaign says, now if there's 10 spaces, give 7 to females, irrespective of who qualifies. Now that is now, because we're trying to balance. Or even that, they say if you take 5, take 5. So now that tempers with the quality. So now you just, same thing in positions in companies. People are saying that The more qualified women qualify and they go into, but they never picked. My question is, how many males qualify for that? Because you know what, you'll meet the average alpha male who works hard, works from 8 to 8, studying, doing their projects in some corporate and paying diligence. They get someone pregnant, they still are on the job. Probably they're also doing some other courses, and they work. They hit hard on the work, and they're recognized, and they move up the ladder. And those people are really good at what they do. And then there's this female that works as hard, but at some point in her life, she gets pregnant. That's about 4 months or even 6 months of being out from work, nurturing their child. Constantly when they're at work, they're thinking about their child, phoning the nanny, what's up, what's going on. In terms of concentration, they're not as good as the men. But that's natural.
Okay.
What can you do about that? Nothing. In terms of competence, this guy is good. And so is the lady, but she lost time and she's way behind.
Okay.
You come into the company from maternity leave 4 months, you find the company is 10 steps ahead, you have to catch up. The guy has always been there and he's been moving really fast. Women tend to have a lot of emotional breakdowns. You can have a guy who would lose their mother 1 week, the next week he's at work. But females, some do that, but most of the time, I'd say 8 out of 10 times, they will need a month. Even when back at work, they're not on the tempo. I'm just giving you a few, just one side. How then do you say that this woman should qualify with this man? He is obviously prompt and competent and good, just as she is, but then with the nature of whom she is.
You fired up, bro. You fired up, bro. Yeah, okay, all right. Maswatla Mahle, this conversation is getting very, very hot. Let's conclude for real this time. I have a question. I think most Maswati anayo lombuto lona pertaining the tinfaleti ngakhona kangwane. Kune sikhulumile ngeculture. So the culture has no problem. And do you agree ngalendlela our king, the leader of the country, does things in terms of let me just give you a context. Probably you do not have the facts of this. I have a friend of mine, actually. Yes, it was a friend of mine. Abefunza St. Mark's. Afunza namfato amswat. I think it's Lampigiza now. Yes, and she told me the whole story about kumthathoka lumvana and everything. So, do you think the leader is doing the right thing, or rather, I would say, because our culture iyavuma ukuthi akwende, but when should he ask for consent? Where should he? What should happen? What are your thoughts on that? Ukuthi kufuna kahle kahle kwendekeni kuze kuthi le culture, in as much as ikhona, but singeva ngazuthi we are being abused. You understand? Yes.
Okay, let's look at it from this perspective. 2 perspectives. The first is, you have been conditioned that if you drop an egg is fragile, and if it drops, it will break. And if it's broken, then it's broken. You've been conditioned like that. And most of the time, when you drop an egg, your heart shatters. Shocks. It's that thing. But someone else might be configured that when they drop an egg, that's a wow, hooray thing. So the first point is we are conditioned to believe what we believe. We're conditioned to know what we know.
Okay.
We know that people should get educated and whatnot because we've been conditioned. The other people, to us, education is memorizing stuff, writing an exam, and passing the exam, getting the certificate. You're educated. In China and Japan, that's not education. So my whole point is, firstly, we are conditioned. So you may be asking that, when should you ask for consent? If your culture has conditioned you that you don't need consent, then there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. Because that is what you know.
Okay, I'm getting confused. I'm getting confused. Please repeat that.
Okay. You have been conditioned to knowing what you know. If you grew up in the Middle East, assuming you're a Christian now, if you grew up in the Middle East, 9.5 out of 10 times you would not be Christian.
Not be Muslim.
Yeah. So you believe according to what you've been conditioned to believe.
Okay. So, related with the culture then?
So, if you speak of culture, if your culture tells you that as a king, if I want that woman to be my wife, I can just take her because I am the king, and people will well receive it. If they don't well receive it, I do what I like. I've been conditioned like that. Then there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. From what I know.
Okay, now I understand. So from your side, that is how things are done.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay, what if then it affects the other person? Like angisaphathe kahle. Senze ngiyobhaca. This kid kuthiwa behamba ubhaca cela bamkhiyele endlini. Abalekele amaphoyisa. Now I'm asking ukuthi wena on your side you've been conditioned in this way. You are the king, you can take anybody. But on her side, she's not comfortable with it. How then do you, as a minor citizen who has no voice in the country, deal with that?
I would say then you're at the mercy of the person's cautious.
Yo. Okay.
I mean that's it. Then you're at the mercy of the person's cautious. Right? Do they have the cautious to say, okay, it's okay. You can leave. Or because you can be groomed and nurtured in any culture, but your cautious has no culture.
Okay.
You see that thing that tells you that this is wrong. Because even if in any culture, I think there is a point where there's that thing inside of everyone that says this is wrong. And you know it's wrong. But you convince yourself otherwise because of what you see, because of your culture. We all have that chip instilled in us. All of us, trust me. We may ignore it, but we all have that. That's why I say, then you're on the mercy of the person's cautious. And then I think it's quite contradictory, but I think that's where then we need this Western organizations to come and help us. But then now they're contradicting the whole thing, because here's, by no means, make no mistake and think the Western culture is perfect. They all have the impurities. But the difference is they do not depict the impurities because they are the one that run the world. So they point out the impurities of every culture. Because now we know that our culture has these impurities that they've pointed out to us. So my whole point is, I just don't like the idea of Western culture being imposed on us and therefore pointing out at what's wrong with our culture. I don't like, that's my thought. I do not like that idea, because bad as it may that in our culture, I can just take someone against their will. to be my wife, I mean, that might be 3 bad things and 10 bad things wrong with the Western culture. If you point to someone and say, what's wrong with the Western culture? Maybe most would say, well, no, it's a perfect life. You get married, you have kids, and the husband cooks, the wife washes the dishes, and yeah, it's a perfect family and whatnot. There's many things wrong with it. By no means, it's by no means perfect. So I do not like the issue of. But looking at it, it is wrong. But this is what culture says. It's just like something that, you know what, I love this person, but I cannot be with them. It's wrong, but it's the culture.
Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you so much, Bob.